Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spark Adventure with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. And we'll get started with Ghost Spider number 8. We've already covered this week's X-Men, Avengers, DC, and, well, a few other titles. So, where we left off, the Johnny Storm and Susan Storm of Earth 65 had returned from being missing and even thought dead for the last 5 years. And when Gwen was going to, one night while Gwen was patrolling, went to save someone, a strange fireball appeared. Was used to help take down the bad guys, but she didn't see who it came from. And in fact, the person she was saving thought that there was something she could do. Meanwhile, the Maker, Reed Richards of Earth 1610, was also taking an interest in the returned Storms, as well as Gwen Stacy. So we begin with Ghost Spider swinging around, fancy free, and comes upon none other than the Reed Richards of 65. Who's a young black kid who plays chess in the park. And so they talk a bit about the multiverse. Apparently he's met a few other Reeds. They didn't all get along. It also comes up that it is kind of odd that whereas most realities, Sue, Johnny, and Reed are all about around the same age, in this one, Reed is significantly younger. So, but he had, basically. Something, she's a little weirded out about the fire thing, and she does have questions. However, it turns out their conversation was being monitored by none other than the Maker. However, Gwen then continues on and jumps dimensions to 616. It's time for class, after all. So, as she's changing, she passes by a poster from what is known as Cradle, claiming it's the law and for the Kamala in your life. So, after she goes to class, and, well, Peter Parker, her TA, informs the class that Dr. Connor will be present. However, afterwards, he then tells her about what's happened very vaguely what's happened with the Champions, which we'll actually be getting to later on in this video. Leads to a bit of a falling out. Basically, Peter saying, hey, just, keep yourself on the DL around these parts. I'm honestly kind of hoping that they'll have the opportunity to talk more and things can be passed along. Other things that this Peter has dealt with. Back on Earth 65, Gwen's swinging around, comes upon a fire, saves a bunch of people from it. Went across town. The Storms decided to make their big social media return, and with an announcement with Johnny showing that he has fire powers now, and basically saying that they want to team up with Ghost Spider. To fight crime together. And that is where the issue ends. Now, one thing about this week is we have a couple flashback of or a couple books from previous weeks that were missed out on. Namely, a couple issues of the same series, one from last week, one from 3 weeks ago. From 3 weeks ago, we've got Jessica Jones' Blind Spot, number 4. So, where we left off in number 3, apparently Jessica Jones has been kidnapped. Now, leading up to that, she's been investigating the murders of a few high-profile women in the superhero community, in the superpower community. Starting with the attempted murder of, well, her. Attempted being a very loose way of putting it, as she was shot in the head, she died, and then she woke up. And it all seems to tie to an old case of hers from 6 years ago. Case where the client had vanished, and so she had never really gotten any information. So Jessica kind of dropped it because that's the best thing to do. Bestest thing to do in that situation. However, investigating this has led her to discover that supervillains Skane and White Rabbit had been killed. Also, someone had killed Elsa Bloodstone. However, Elsa was... If the team up between Elsa and Jessica was any indication, Elsa was fine. So, and, well, Jessica found the missing client. And so, who's very much not dead. Oh yes, everything kind of kicked off with Jessica finding the dead body of the client in her office. And Jessica explains how it is she found her, and then goes into, okay, here's what I've been through. But she explains that she developed reality-altering powers. She wanted something enough, there it was. I mean, in fact, she even stated, she had to get rid of her cat. Because at one point she thought, when the cat was meowing, she thought, shut up, just once, and the cat didn't make a sound for 3 days straight. And then there was her boyfriend, who was abusive, and obviously jealous of her having powers, and him not, so maybe if he had power, he'd be happy again. No. So she basically wished her power to him. She went to Jessica's office to talk to her one day, and hoping maybe, since Jessica knows people in the superpower community, maybe she knew someone who could help her. And more she thought, running was the only thing in mind, and so suddenly there was her dead body was lying there. So she left. Nothing about the consequences. Hence leading to Jessica being arrested and all that. But after talking with Dia, Jessica gets in her car and gets quite the learns something very disturbing. There's been another murder. She walks through the crowd. Jessica and Dia stay in the car. She walks through and finds Spider-Man sitting on a bench. Because apparently Mary Jane Watson has just been killed. And he's in shock. This is quite possibly one of the best pages I think I've ever seen with Spider-Man in a comic book. But Jessica can't tell him that maybe she can get her back for him. Don't want to get his hopes up. And yeah, sure, he loved her, but just looking at how he is now, how he's reacting now, he didn't love he. It's not that he loved her; he loves her. She says that as soon as the shock wears off, he's going to do something very, very stupid. Punch a cop, take off his mask, kill a bad guy. And she says that, if it was Luke who had died, she'd try and tear the sun from the sky once she could feel anything. But Jessica convinces him to leave. Tells him to go home. And she'll go up there and find out what happened and call him very soon. It's not a way she's ever seen him before. So Jessica flies up onto the roof, makes her way in, and discovers Dia's abusive boyfriend standing over Mary Jane. Explaining that he didn't kill her. He's trying to fix what's happened, just like he fixed Jessica. And it works. So she asks him what's going on. But it's complicated. Which, hey, Jessica totally gets. But please, try her. And he simply says that he's been trying to fix the bad things that he does. Not saying who he is, but he didn't know at first. It was who it for some of them. White Rabbit and Skane. And Dia. Meaning he doesn't know Dia's alive. And he's hit Jessica hard enough to give her a nice little cut on her face. And now we wake up. And now we cut to her chained to a chair in an ill-fitting Miss Marvel costume. We've discovered that the killer is Jared. Only there appear to be two Jareds. Good Jared and bad Jared. And so we move on to last week's Jessica Jones Blind Spot number 5. And so Jessica breaks out of the chains she's in because she is strong enough, and she explains that the reason she didn't do it in front of evil Jared, is because if she did it in front of him, well, it's reality warping powers. He could just summon up thicker chains, or who knows what else. Problem is she can't seem to untie the ropes, the knots around it. But Dia shows up, and she manages to undo the ropes. Jared apologizes, and we find out what happened. Basically, he realized how terrible he was to Dia, and he basically wished he could get rid of everything bad about himself and keep only what was good. And so he created evil Jared. And evil Jared, went after powerful women who he thought helped Dia, such as Elsa Bloodstone and Jessica Jones. Some were, some he thought needed to be put in their place. Turns out Stan and White Rabbit weren't saved, though, because, well, Good Jared didn't know about it until too late. And so, Good Jared and Jessica go to visit Doctor Strange, making a point of doing so after noon. Strange has an idea of what's going on, but he's going to help. He's going to help train Dia. And also gets roped in. That night, Dia is seemingly arrested by Misty Knight. Only it's not Dia, it's Jessica, and waiting in the back of the car is none other than Evil Jared, who Jessica promptly punches. And he's seems to be really good with reality warping stuff. Then also gets some licks in, and however, Dia has a solution. She gave Jared the power he has, so she could also take it away. And so Jared then reabsorbs his the evil portion of himself, and turns out that Stan and White Rabbit, because of Jared having his reality warping powers taken away, it undid all the things he did. And so Stan and White Rabbit are back among the living. And Dia's going to be coming down to train with Doctor Strange on a weekly basis. So she'll get better with her powers. And then Jessica finishes up the paperwork, and Luke, Kate, her husband, Luke, and daughter come to see her at the office, and they head out. And that's the end of the issue. Seriously, that scene of Spider-Man at number 4 was just amazing. I mean, it might not be top 10 comics of the year. It might not make catapult Jessica Jones' blind spot to top 10 comics of the year, but damn, that'll be one of the best comic moments of the year. That's for damn sure. All right, for me at least. Moving on to Morbius, number 5. Where we left off, Morbius and Spider-Man working together to try and, well, fix Morbius's problem. His problem with, well, his new serum. When they were attacked by Elizabeth, and Morbius kind of had a moment of just like, you know what, just I am a monster. Please, kill me. And it seemed like Elizabeth was going to. Meanwhile, his lab was raided by the Melter, who seemed to take all of his notes and equipment, and was working on doing something with it himself. So we begin. Morbius is about to more than likely chow down on Elizabeth. Asks her to kill him, but Spidey swings in, kicks him, and distracts him, and he takes a bite out of his arm, and Spider-Man explains to Elizabeth what's going on. That his new mutations are the result of a failed cure. Spider-Man's blood helps reverse the changes, for a while at least. They talk more, and Then Elizabeth realizes that Melter's probably going to do something with something bad with the research. And yeah, he is creating an army of human-animal hybrids, it does seem. So, Elizabeth, Morbius, and Spider-Man busted on Melter, and as they get there, he injects himself with his serum, mutates into a human canine hybrid of sorts. But it turns out that the serum they created, it doesn't have the same. It's not seeming to have an effect on these. And so Morbius makes it to. Of course, Spider-Man tries to stop Elizabeth from killing anyone, but Morbius goes over to the Melter's research or his research of Melter's research to see what Melter did differently, and he does. He makes. He finds a way to compensate for the changes in the formula. And it works. A few of them do manage to get away, but Melter is reverted back to his old self. Morbius takes the new serum, and it does seem to at least get him in a more controllable state. So Morbius continues his work, and Elizabeth comes to visit him, and they talk. And she says that the woman, and she does tell him that she was wrong about him, but the woman that Morbius knew is dead, buried in the ground with her brother, and she was status with a woman who who the woman she wants to be now is. That he's also going after the remaining, as some of Melter's mutated goons got away, Morbius is going after them to demutate all of them as well, and just continue to be, fight crime and as a living vampire. That's where the issue ends. Moving on to Outlawed #1. Alright, so you might recall in Ghost Spider I mentioned a poster about doing it for the Kamala in your life and Cradle. Well, that all spins out of this. Outlawed #1. So we begin with a Senate hearing. Miles Morales is there, Ironheart, Captain Marvel, the second Falcon, Wasp, Cap, Vision, Sam Alexander Nova. Sam gives a very, very good speech. He flashes back to several days ago. Miles and Kamala meet up at Cole's Academic High School. With them as well, also with them is I think that also with them is Jamila. But they're at a excuse me. What they're there for is the Concerned Future Scientists of America. The keynote speech is going to be done by Ilana Kabua. She's She's a young woman from Marshall Islands, and supposedly young woman who's been getting death threats. And because of this, the champions are present to guard her. Though Miles and Kamala, being in their civilian identities, refuse to comment. However, of course, Ironheart, Power Man, Pinpoint, Bombshell, Nova are all outside. Wasp is hiding on Miles, and Viv Vision is invisible and intangible inside, watching. Ilana begins to give her speech, but she's interrupted by a sound from outside. Apparently there's a giant friggin' dragon. This obviously causes Ironheart to ask, where the hell did Roxxon get a dragon? And basically kind of a, hey, so yeah, she gets a quick version of, yeah, so Roxxon was working with the Dark Elves who tried to invade Earth a few months ago, so that's probably how they got their hand on a friggin' dragon. And the dragon has backup in the form of armed goons. Big fight outside. Kamala tries to rescue Ilana. And the champions cannot seem to agree on how to take care of the dragon. And Viv's about to make a decision for them, but Power Man has Pinpoint open a portal and sends a chi strike through it, which hits Viv. And it seems as though it also manages to take down the dragon, but no one can. And to protect Ilana from the rubble, well, Kamala uses her powers. And they have to. Basically, Viv is becoming a bit of a threat, so they're trying to figure out how to stop her, and the dragon falls. Ilana's safe, but no one knows where Kamala is. It's immediately spoken by the press as maybe a failure. Maybe the champions screwed up just by being here. Cradle comes after Moon Girl. There are protests outside of West Coast Avengers HQ. Looks like Cradle's confiscated the Champion's mobile bunker. And going after Ironheart in Chicago. Trying to find Miss Marvel in Jersey City. Then we learned that Kamala was injured in the hospital, which is why no one's seen Miss Marvel. That's where the issue ends and the story begins. Looks like we'll be getting a new champion series out of Outlawed, as well as a new Warriors mini, a new Power Pack mini, as well as tie-ins to the story in Miss Marvel and Miles Morales Spider-Man. Which means that for the duration of that, as it is an actual full-on event, it will be getting its own segment of the roundup. Small segment though, as we're looking at 5 books, I think, altogether. And moving on to our last book of the week, Marvel's X. Number 3. So where we left off, David, the last human on Earth, had made it to New York with the help of Johnny Blaze and found 2 of New York's well-known heroes, Daredevil and Spider-Man. He, in fact, was staying with Spider-Man and Spider-Man's daughter, May. But something had been hunting him. And so, David's watching news about how people are trying to get into the Baxter building, but the building's defenses are keeping them at bay. But they said they've got to get David to the Baxter building. So they eventually get there, web swinging around, make it into one of the doors on the side, but, well, there's a moving wall, and it's moving and heating up. And so, they decide, fine, we'll see if someone else, there are other possibilities. And so, they go to the Sanctum, where they ask Doctor Strange for help. But turns out he can't get them into the Baxter building, but he can possibly help them make their way. He can possibly help them find someone who can. The Invisible Woman. So Daredevil goes off in search of her. And Spider-Man and David walk back towards the safe house Spider-Man is staying in when Spider-Man is attacked by someone. It turns out that what's been hunting David is a mutated Kraven the Hunter. And Kraven catches up with him, brings him to a museum, which he has made into his home. And he just says, hey, I hear you're a fan of Sense. I want to show you. Seemingly, he's got Captain America's head mounted. He apparently has Captain America's head mounted on his wall, saying that to him it was only right that Cap would be the first to mark the end of an age. Spidey recovers from the attack by Kraven and basically shouts to Daredevil that he knows that, okay, Kraven's hunting, and that's why. David's the last human boy on Earth. What hunter? Kraven's a hunter. Wants that's another trophy to him. And that is where the issue ends. And that's it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.